Denver, the Clippers will be looking for revenge against the Nuggets, who knocked them out of the playoffs in the bubble. This one is in Denver, 10:30 Eastern, ESPN. Stephen A., who do you have more faith in moving forward? Is it the Nuggets or the Clippers?
For me, it's the Clippers. And the reason why it's the Clippers is because I think that when you talk about the Clippers going up against the Los Angeles Lakers, again, they're highly motivated. And I think they match up particularly with the acquisition of Serge Ibaka, not to beat the Lakers. But I think all of those intangibles, all of those things on the side, combined with the skill set that they have in play, I definitely think that could give the Lakers a significant run for their money. My issue with the Denver Nuggets, Max, is, believe it or not, the Joker. He is incredibly skilled. We know that he is a special talent. He's an all-star. We know he's big time. We get it. Except for when he's going up against Anthony Davis. I think that when he has to answer to Anthony Davis, I think it's a problem for him. And when you acquire Marc Gasol and then you add Montrezl Harrell as well, even though he had his way with Harrell and those boys for the Clippers last year in the conference semifinals when he averaged 24. The bottom line is I just think that when you talk about them or compared to the Clippers as being that formidable threat to the Lakers, I trust the Clippers more because I think athleticism is desperate. Needed when you're going up against the Los Angeles Lakers. The Joker can play, no doubt about that, but he can't jump onto a curve. I mean, he has no hops whatsoever. You need that against Anthony Davis. He doesn't have it, and I think because he's such a focus for Denver, offensively as well he should be, when he's going up against Anthony Davis, it's a huge, huge problem for Denver to overcome, and that's my issue with that matchup.
Well, look, the reason AD is better than Jokic is because AD is a superstar on both ends of the floor. But Jokic can do so many things offensively. You know, if you shut down his scoring and he can bully you inside, he can shoot from the outside. He is arguably, and you probably win the argument, the greatest passing big who ever lived, at least in the modern era. He can bring the ball up. Like, he can actually be your point center, bringing the ball up and getting you into the offense or from the pivot or wherever. This dude is special. And more importantly, Stephen A., he and Jamal Murray play up in the playoffs. They become the best version of themselves when you need the most, right? I mean, these guys, and Jamal Murray's still getting better. So the difference between the two teams, and we can go to the supporting cast, and you're right, the Nuggets supporting cast is going to have to get better from within because they are a team who really probably needed to add something but didn't. But they have reason to believe that Michael Porter Jr. will become a legitimate third scoring star to go with the other two. In the meantime, Will Barton's no slouch. He's a good NBA player, as is Paul Millsap. Like, they have guys in their starting lineup and rotation who can play. But the important thing for me is I look at the Clippers, I see their two stars. And Paul George, I hate to do this. I don't like doing this to James Harden. I especially don't like doing it to Paul George, who like I used to argue with people 4 or 5 years ago. He's better than Carmelo because he's a two-way player. And everyone was telling me I was crazy. So I really root for Paul George. But the fact is he goes away in the playoffs. Like, Carmelo was a guy who, when the moment was big, you can give him the ball and Carmelo could take you there. Paul George has not been that guy in the playoffs, period. Jokic has been, Jamal Murray has been, but only Kawhi has been on the Clippers. Now, so your number two scorer is going to be who? Lou Williams? Not that he can't do it, but that's not how it's supposed to be. They really need Paul George to be a superstar in the playoffs. I haven't seen it. I have to say, I have more faith in the Nuggets as a result.
Well, listen, Paul George, I mean, listen, last year, Game 7, there's no excuse for it. Him and Kawhi Leonard. But I'm just looking at his numbers here, Max, because I wanted to look it up. In the previous 4 playoff series that Paul George was in last year, he averaged 27, 28, 24, and 28. Now, Max, he could have played better, particularly in clutch moments. I understand that. But we're talking about him like, you're talking about him like he just wet the bed every time. That, he was just a shell of himself, like he damn near scrubbed. Paul George can ball. Paul George has had good performances in the postseason in his career. It hasn't been consistent enough. It certainly didn't occur last year, particularly in Game 7. But let's cut the brother a little bit of slack. It's not like the brother went AWOL and disappeared. Other than Game 7, it's not like he went AWOL and just disappeared in all of these years. He's never done anything. Paul George has had plenty of good playoff game performances. It's just a sustained level of excellence that's required for you to get to that next level where LeBron and AD and those boys, because AD averaged 31 last year in that conference finals against the Joker. He averaged 21. AD averaged 31. Yeah, we need to see more of that from Paul George, no question. But it wasn't like Paul George was some scrub that can't show up come postseason time. I think we need to stop talking about him like that.
Well, hold on. It's the same thing I say about James Harden. If you when you're falling from a very high height, you fall down, you're still pretty good. I'm not saying Paul George is a below average player, even in the playoffs.
Well, that's all I'm saying.
Paul George is an above average. Yeah, I got it. He's an above. Let me be very clear. Paul George in the playoffs is an above average starter. He's an above average player for a starter, which is a good player, right? I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying in the regular season, he's an above average all-star. So how's he fall? Why are you that makes you think if a dude like that plays up, that's Kawhi for a lot of his career or the last several years. In the regular season, he's not an MVP. He's an above average all-star. Playoff start, he's an MVP. Paul George needs to be that dude. That's Jamal Murray, Stephen A. Remember we were saying last couple of years, Jamal Murray's coming along, but I'm like, okay, but Jamal Murray's all-star-ish. But when they needed him most in the playoffs, that dude's an MVP. That dude elevates. Paul George doesn't. A superstar. Jamal Murray and Jokic in the playoffs, superstar.
Donovan Mitchell,
Kawhi,
same
playoff
thing.
Superstar, not Paul George.
Okay.
All right. We'll leave it there, guys, because we got 5 NBA games today here on Christmas Day. When we come back, the King will be in action, wanting to win wherever he lands. But you're going to find out why the Mavs need Luka more than LA needs LeBron. Plus this, JJ Redick in Miami taking on the Heat. They're coming off a finals appearance. I like the Christmas mask there. Pelicans Heat right after us, noon, ESPN.
Embiid thought he got fouled on the rip through. Adetokounmpo laid down the floor. The Rim will feel that one tomorrow. Look at that.
Oh my goodness, the extension.
Everybody sat down.
My goodness.